Hey everyone, and welcome to episode 2 of the new ETW HQ office renovation series. For those of you who don't know me, my name is Danny. I am based in Vancouver, BC, and I own a video and photo production company called ETW Media. For those of you who do know me, which is probably the majority of the people who will watch this first, thanks for being here. Thanks for your support. I got a little bit of feedback from the video last week, seeing as a lot of people are coming in right now with this renovation series, and I think it's important to give a little bit of backstory here because not all of you have gone back and watched the other renovation videos that I've created before, so I am going to talk about that in this episode. Starting with Chapter 1, the story of City Center. This is where a lot of people had some questions, so I would like to share a little history on this part because this is the evolution of where we came from. So back in 2021, I got an office space over on Main Street in Vancouver at the old City Center Motel. This was a project that got picked up where prior to this building being broken down to develop new buildings, a company came in and decided to rent out the old motel rooms as artist studios. I fortunately got the opportunity to have a space there, which I absolutely loved. It was the first time I got the opportunity to start a renovation project all on my own. And of course I had a ton of people helping me with it, but to the core, I took this on and I had no prior renovation skills. So in a nutshell, it was quite entertaining. So if you do want to go back, there is actually it's right here, 5-part series to the renovations to that space. And if you do watch that space, you will see a similar style from the old place to the new space when we get into this episode, to this series, episode 3. The city center space that I had was about 300 square feet. So it was a perfect size for just myself to work into. About a year and a half later, I hired my partner to come in and work as my operations manager. So then we had 2 people in there, followed by my twin sister, who's a photographer, who was working at one of the desks. At which point, between the 3 of us and the equipment that I had in the space started to get crowded. This led me to wanting more space and more growth for my business. So when it came time to leaving, it was a really hard place to leave because I put so much blood, sweat, and tears into the renovations, which leads me to Chapter 2, the search for the new office. The search for this space took a little time. Between financial choices, square footage, availability. We visited 3 spots prior to this one, and they were either too big, too dark, like one of them was kind of in what felt like a basement, and the other one, you know what, I liked the other one. That was in an apartment, which was a live-in situation, which was nice, but the location wasn't right. That place was in Gastown, which I knew ahead of time that I would need a place to park out front to load equipment out of the space. So unfortunately, we had to pass on that place. But then we walked into this location. It had incredible lighting. It had multi-rooms, which allowed me to envision a gear locker, an office space for us, and potentially an extra office for either creative shoots or renting out to other creatives. But overall, what I knew walking into this space was that I would be taking on another renovation project. And little confident me thought, I've done that once, I could do it again. But here's the kicker. I did that in a 300 square foot room, and we were moving into a 1,000 square foot 3-room location. And I did not truly account how much work that would be. Which brings me to chapter 3, the beginning of tackling the floors. I knew immediately into walking into this space that the carpets were the first thing to go. So we took that project on, and that took us many, many days to do. We ripped up the carpet just to find a bunch of carpet glue. But we thought we could do this. So we bought gallons of glue adhesive remover, poured that all over the ground, and started grinding away the leftover glue. This was probably the hardest part of the project, where we spent many, many nights doing, with the outcome to be very lackluster. After tackling 2 of the rooms and spending hundreds of dollars on this, just to be left with what felt like an endless project, we decided to throw in the towel and call in some professionals. And just before I move on to talking about how we finalized the flooring, I am going to add a little brief chapter here of my accidental downfall. This video for me is a documentation of the process, and while we were doing this process, I unfortunately fell from maybe about 8 feet off the ground. Anyway, the story behind that is that while we were doing the roofing, I unfortunately decided to confidently run up the ladder, which unfortunately by the time I got to the top, kicked out the ladder from below me, and I grabbed onto the roof to brace myself, and slowly fell to the ground. And with that, I unfortunately was left with pretty much my entire right arm bruised, which at first didn't look so bad, but after the progression of 2 or 3 days, it started to look pretty gnarly. So lesson learned. Lesson I probably kind of already knew in my youth, and I know my mom is probably watching this. Sorry, Mom. But in a way, I got lucky, because that would have probably been very dangerous had I not been able to grab onto the beams above me. So yeah. Oops. Chapter 5, finalizing the floors. So we bit the bullet and hired a professional company. This was just a decision that needed to happen. As much as I like to take on as much as I possibly can and learn lots of new skills, this was something that was going nowhere very fast. Removing all of the glue from the floors, we just did not have the right equipment for that, and decided to just pay for somebody else to do it. This sucked, especially after spending hundreds of dollars on adhesive remover and grinding supplies and trying to do the physical labor ourselves. But again, it needed to happen. And honestly, it looks great. Moving on to chapter 6, the painting process. Now, for this process, we really needed to call in for some extra help. So you will see some familiar faces from episode 1 and a couple new faces in episode 2 here today. There's no chance that we would have been able to paint 1,000 square feet all by ourselves, just Jane and I. So we called in our friends again to come help, which I am immensely grateful for. If any of you guys are watching, I would assume and hopeful that you would be watching. Thank you to all of those folks, to Sam, Avery, Catherine, Danny, Lex, Jane, and a couple of puppies to come help. It was a blast. We had a lot of fun, and it really, truly couldn't have been done without all of that help. And honestly, sidebar, I was super happy to get rid of that orange wall. Overall, the painting process was a lot of work, but it was also a lot of fun to bring people into a space that, like, this is my life. And to share my life with my friends and have them come help me truly means a lot to me. Which leads me to chapter 7, our final touches. This is the final stage of episode 2 today. It's filled with a lot of random footage here that I'm showing you of getting a full-size fridge up to our unit, to having our friend help us with the baseboards, and fortunately teaching us new skills, which I'm grateful for always. Unfortunately, I did not film much of us furnishing this place, seeing as it took us, honestly, probably months to furnish the space. It was constantly being on Facebook Marketplace, constantly driving out, filling up the Dan van. For any of you guys who don't know the Dan van, it's a minivan and it's my car and I absolutely love it. Finding the right pieces that coexist and work together took time. And it's kind of hard to document that, but you will get to see that in episode 3 after this one, in seeing how we styled this place. Until then, that is episode 2. Thank you for anyone and everyone who stuck around to watch the video all the way through. I think I'm most excited for the next episode to show you the contrast of what this place looked like from start to finish. So I'm not sure what to expect with episode 3 next week, other than just a full before and after video. If you're a friend of mine, a family member, a new watcher, feel free to subscribe. I, at this point, as of October 15th, 2025, have 287 subscribers and 14 videos on my YouTube channel. I hope to continue making more videos. I hope they won't continue to be renovation videos because it's exhausting and a lot of work, and I want to stay at this office for the foreseeable future. Until next week, catch you later.